Welcome to Straight Talk with Eugene Chan. Lawrence Lee Wei Kwan, the curator of our Space Museum in Tsim Sha Tsui, is with us this evening to talk about sending Hong Kongers into space. Mr. Lee has been on the management team of the Hong Kong Space Museum for over 12 years and has been the curator since 2020, overseeing its largest renovation since its inception in 1980. Was an exciting time to be in the space industry. Welcome, Lawrence.
Hi, Eugene.
So space is a very far away place from Hong Kong,
yes,
and is also very far away from minds of many Hong Kongers until recently, when our Deputy Financial Secretary Michael Wong and the Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry, Professor Sun Dong, announced a directive from Beijing that Hong Kong and Macau residents are possible recruits for our mainland space program. And of course, this project has been endorsed and supported by our Chief Executive, John Lee. What they're recruiting is what they call a payload specialist. I think since you are the expert, maybe you can tell the viewers, what exactly is a payload specialist?
Okay, a payload specialist is always a company and space mission. They are not actually the one who controls the spacecraft. They may carry out experiments to do science research on a spacecraft, on a space mission. So this, we have a lot to do in space. Besides controlling spacecraft, there are many research projects we can do in space. So that's why we need to do carry out different experiments on different subjects, disciplines, to know about the space environment. Because honestly, we have to, sooner or later, our Earthlings will leave the Earth and to maybe go to other planets or celestial bodies. And we must have a very good understanding of the space, of the effect of space environment on us.
Right, Lawrence, I'm sure that will be a very fierce competition. What you're saying is payload specialists are the ones going to do research for us. So what are the basic criteria that can satisfy, if I want to be a payload specialist, what are the criteria that we need in this program?
At the present moment, the criteria they set is that they have to at least have a PhD degree and 3 years relevant experience. And so, but of course, and the degree has to be in a relevant discipline. And actually in space science, it involves many different kinds of disciplines. We have physics, chemistry, material science, engineering. We have mechanical engineering, we have electronic engineering, or even computer engineering, system engineering. But also there's one criteria that they mentioned that normally we don't get it in the CV, or you might get in the CV, that they have to be Chinese national. They have to be a Hong Kong permanent resident. They have to be a patriot of one patriot, supporting one country, two systems, and also a certain height as well. Do you expect that is part of the criteria? Do you think it's a fair assessment? I think it's a fair assessment. Because you're contributing to a Chinese space program. So I guess these are basic requirements. I think it's a fair assessment.
So do you think Hong Kong have the expertise in this area so that we can join the national team? I mean, now it's being open to Hong Kong, Macau residents, but do we have those specialists?
At present, there are around 30,000 people doing science research in Hong Kong and doing many different disciplines. We don't know whether the final selection rests with the Chinese authorities, with our countries. So, but I think when they look at the CVs and different experience of the applicants, I think maybe they could see the possibility of the scientists, of the applicants, to be a payload specialist.
When you said we have like 30,000 potential...
I mean, they're doing science research here in Hong Kong now.
Do you think we have a good chance?
I won't speculate on that. I know the competition is really fierce. Very keen, that's for sure. But I think it's actually, from a personal point of view, it's a long-time initiative. Because we have to, even if it's not successful this time, then we'll keep on grooming new talents in this field.
So why do you think mainland has opened up this opportunity for both Hong Kong and Macau residents?
I think it's a recognition of, for Hong Kong, I guess it's a recognition of the space science research they have been doing, especially the contribution of Hong Kong scientists in the Chang'e and the lunar missions and the Mars Attainment missions. I think they know that science has a very strong field, strong presence in scientific research.
Right.
I guess I think it's a recognition. Yeah, and especially for instance, you know, we have PolyU who are doing the develop the camera pointing system for the Chang'e system, Chang'e space mission, and we and also developed the Mars surveillance landing camera. Landing surveillance camera for the Mars mission.
Right.
And 2 years ago, Hong Kong US also developed a lobster eye X-ray imaging satellite. So there's, I guess we have a proven track record in science research.
I mean, it's very encouraging to hear those achievements by the Hong Kong scientists. So that now we are being recognized that we are a good potential list of the payload specialists. So we got a good track record. So let's move on further, I mean, wider field, like the development of education for astronomy in Hong Kong. I mean, we have 5 universities in Hong Kong, which is in top 100. Do any one of them offer majors in astronomy or aeronautics? And if so, I mean, do they have sufficient specialist courses to make our scientists even more equipped for this field? Yes.
Yeah, as far as I know there are universities in Hong Kong, they are offering degrees in aeronautics or aerospace engineering. There's at least 3 they're offering. And at least 2 they're offering postgraduate degrees in space science. So for undergraduate, I know that most of the undergraduate who want to study astronomy will join a physics faculty. The Department of Physics, they'll be majoring in physics. And because actually we have many scholars in Hong Kong universities who are actually they are astronomers. So they can when they will organize some courses and for the students to enroll and to pick up knowledge in astronomy.
Right. See, Lawrence, you know, traditionally Hong Kong has always been having more emphasis onto other jobs like I mean, not really on technology or scientists, but mainly on, say, if you go to university, you may want to be a medical doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you could be a banker. It's traditionally not as prestigious. But with this opportunity opening up, and also Hong Kong being going to be asked to be the hub for innovation technology, do you think everything will change from now?
I guess that is definitely a stimulus. Because if we are, for example, if I'm studying mechanical engineering in a university, say, then I will suddenly, actually the topic I'm studying, I can, you know, a whole arena of topics or new theme, research theme may be opened up in my field. Because, you know, in the space environment, it's very interesting because space environment is hard to replicate on Earth. Why? Because it's vacuum, the temperature difference, and the intense radiation in the space environment. Materials behave in the and the microgravity environment. So materials behave so differently in the space environment. So that's why we need a space station to do science research in space, because the environment is so different.
Right.
You can see a few days ago, the astronaut Liu Yang, they performed a Tiangong lesson, and do a lot of demonstrations on the physics of materials. Very interesting. And so this is a definite stimulus for people doing science research in Hong Kong to seek new possibilities.
So basically it's opening up a whole new, possibility that in the past you only study astronomy or physics on the textbook, but now, now the chance has come.
You know, the universe is a laboratory.
Right.
So this definitely is a very positive sign.
And actually, when you mentioned earlier, one day, human beings may have to look at inhabiting other planets. So these are preliminary studies we must do to understand what.
Yes. Because the universe is so large, and the celestial bodies are so far away.
Right.
The moon. Even if the polar mission at the time, it takes 3 days to the moon. And Mars, you go to the Mars, we colonize Mars one day, say for example. According to present technology, it takes 9 months to go to Mars.
Right.
For quickest, Right. So a round trip journey to Mars is 18 months, more than a year.
Right. Just now you mentioned about the university. We have some undergraduate, we have maybe some postgraduate courses.
Yes, master's
but how
science.
about in general levels? I mean, not everybody may have the opportunity to study physics or are good enough to study physics like yourself in the university. How about other levels of education? How about in primary and secondary school? Do we have all that being taught to our students?
We are actually in junior level in primary school we have astronomical knowledge being imparted to the students. They learn about the seasons. They learn about some basic space science knowledge. Yes, and in secondary school, in the physics curriculum they have the astronomy and space science electives, and to learn about some of the Kepler's laws. I mean the orbital motion, the laws governing orbital motions, classification of stars. And we have the space weather, space weather, the near Earth environment. Yeah.
Right, Lawrence, we have to take a break now, and
okay, no problem.
Viewers, please stay with us. We will be right back. Welcome back. With us this evening is Mr. Lawrence Lee, and we have been talking about the opportunity for Hong Kongers to be sent into space as part of our nation's manned spacecraft program. So Lawrence, in the first half, you have told us that Hong Kong do have the ability, with the ability of people to be payload specialists and be able to be, because of our track record, I think we are being honored to be able to be selected. And if we are not successful this time, it's at least a good start.
Yes.
You've also talked about education.
Yeah.
I mean, it covers from university as well as primary and secondary education. That there are our students are being exposed.
Yeah.
But how about in terms of the community? Do we have any enthusiastic societies around? I mean, because community engagement is very important.
Oh yeah. Actually, the ecology of astronomy in Hong Kong is very interesting. Actually, we have actually before the inception of the Space Museum, actually we have a group of astronomy enthusiasts, amateur astronomers in Hong Kong, even in the 1950s, or they're already there. Yeah, and now we have 6 astronomical local astronomical societies.
Wow.
Yeah, 6, and actually in universities and many secondary schools, they all have their own astronomy clubs, and of course we have the Space Museum here. We have to promote astronomy for the general public. So whenever there's a big celestial event, say for instance, let me do a commercial here for the coming lunar eclipse on the 11th or on the 8th of November. Then we'll do broadcast. Maybe if condition permit, we we call sidewalk astronomy. That means we set up some telescopes on outdoors, and that passes by to take a look through the telescope. Yeah.
Right. Lawrence, I mean, as you know, Hong Kong is a very vibrant city.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of neon lights at night time, and there's what we call, light pollution. I mean, isn't that going to make stargazing a bit difficult in Hong Kong?
Honestly, it's becoming increasingly difficult. Yeah, because the light pollution in Hong Kong is really very serious. So we have only we call the sweet spots in for astronomical observation in Hong Kong is really limited now. Yeah. So actually,
for example, if you go to the southern side of Hong Kong, say around the beaches, is that a good place for the viewers to know?
Actually, it really depends on what kind of phenomena you're looking at.
Right.
If you're looking at, say, a lunar eclipse of the moon, then the light pollution is not a big issue because you can see the moon as long as just your viewing angle, the field of view is not blocked by buildings, something like that, then you can see the moon is okay. But for some astronomical phenomena, say meteor showers, they need a very dark environment. Then we have to be very careful.
Right.
For instance, the Leonids in November, and the Geminids in December, they all require very dark condition to see the meteors.
Right. Are there any alternatives we can do?
There is one field of astronomy that do not rely on weather. It's called the radio astronomy. Yeah, because you use the radio dishes, large radio antennae, to capture radio signals from different kinds of celestial bodies. And actually, we are I know we are some universities that they already set up some radio dishes in this field to do radio astronomy. Yeah, there's a possible one field of astronomy that's not so reliant on weather.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Lawrence, as a curator for Space Museum,
Yeah.
do you see yourself having a much better opportunity now to promote what you have always been, been asked to do, is promote education in Hong Kong, especially with this new initiative of recruiting payload specialists from Hong Kong? Do you expect more visitors to visit the Space Museum?
Actually, we are trying to stimulate interest, taking this opportunity to promote the interest of astronomy and space science for the general public through different lectures or talks or film show. Actually, I know the requirements of this payload specialist is very high. It's PhD and 3 years relevant experience, but we are trying to, as I have said, it's a long-time initiative, and we have to let people aware that space science, space technology, is so closely related to our daily lives.
Right.
Actually, there are many spin-offs. Yeah.
Right. When I was preparing the material to meet you today, I realized that usually, in the US and Russia, they call them astronauts.
Yeah, yeah.
But from China, they call them taikonauts.
Yes.
So how is all this technology, after they've been to the space and bring back the experience, how is it going to be relevant to our daily lives?
Well, actually, many things where we are using a spin-off of space technology. Say, for instance, your mobile phones, communication satellites, remote sensing. You see when you go to the observatory to see the latest weather map, the satellite pictures, they are space. There's weather satellites. They are all space technology. The digital camera, we use a CCD charge coupled device. The imaging sensor, the CMOS, they're all space technology. Or even if the garment we're wearing, or the running shoes, the material, actually they're all spin-off space technology.
Really?
It's really just so many. Yeah, there's so when they are when developed technology. I've said the space environment is very harsh. The high temperature difference, vacuum, microgravity, materials behave so differently. So actually all these space technology are developed for survival of humans in space. And when they find it is very useful and can be applied in the Earth environment, and they start being commercialized and mass production, and that's why we are using it now.
One sidetrack question: you being in the field much longer than most of us, when do you envisage the possibility of actually living in space? How many more years do you think?
Living in space for how long? Well, it really depends on you. If you're really thinking of human colonization,
yes,
then I think we're still a long way to go.
Right.
So many different problems to solve. For instance, say Moon is closest, 338,000 kilometers from us. But then the Moon's environment is very harsh. There's no atmosphere, and the temperature difference is very big. Yeah. And then you go to Mars. The weather is comparatively more friendlier. Yeah. But it's too far away. It's the closest is still 56 million kilometers away from us, and a trip to Mars take 9 months. Yeah. And we have to be self-reliant on the Mars. You cannot always depend on transportation of materials of supplies to the red planet. So you need to have to develop many technologies so you sustain live on the planet for a long period of time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it will be for quite some time, but we have to start working on this. And what say, since you said that Hong Kong already has some basis of all these scientists and also now with opportunity, what other opportunities would exist for our youngsters? So we are always looking at new possibilities for the new generation. Yeah. Do you see this as business opportunities?
Oh yeah. Now you have a window. You have a chance that the Hong Kongers may become a payload specialist for Chinese space missions. Then when a youngster, youth in the say senior primary or secondary school, or even in the university, they think, well, maybe this will be worth. Of course, it depends on the interest, but of course, this may be a career in space industry that's worth pursuing. Right. So
As you said, industry can involve garment. It can involve,
So
like telephone, mobile phones, and etc. I mean,
yeah, something like career planning. Yeah, long-term career planning. As I see another possibility now. The subject I'm studying can contribute to the man's exploration of space, and another vista of possibilities.
So definitely a big scope for expansion.
Yeah, right. I see that.
This time we have the possibility of a payload specialist. Hopefully, Hong Kong has a chance, and Macau. And how about actually being the actual space pilots or flight engineers?
Space pilots.
Do we have a chance? I'm asking more now.
Oh, space pilot. Currently, all as far as I know, all the Chinese astronauts here, I mean the Yang Li Wei, and they're all space pilots. They need to have experience, flight hours in flying combat planes, fighter attacker aircraft, something like that. And they will recruit from People's Liberation Army. And in terms of physical, I guess it's much more, the requirement is much more higher. Say for instance, if you have a decayed tooth, you can go to space.
Right.
You're about it immediately, okay?
Yeah.
Because if you have an ill-fitted dental fillings, because when the spacecraft, the rocket is being launched, it's subject to very vigorous vibrations and G-force, and they're afraid that your fillings will break out, will get loose, okay, and pain, okay.
Right.
And you can't even have scars on your skin because they're afraid that you're bleeding.
I see.
You don't know when you are in a so hostile environment. They don't know if you may have bleeding on your skin.
Right.
So I guess at the present moment, the requirement is quite stringent for.
Right. Also, I mean, I was also doing some reading as well. When I asked you, I understand that there's an emerging private sector in space industry. That the global space economy is estimated to be worth about $350 billion and could stretch to $1 trillion by 2040. Furthermore, with all this space technology industry coming on the stock market, do you think Hong Kong has a role to play since we are one of the international financial center?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Besides the local universities, they're doing space science research, develop new gadgets, new equipment for the Chinese space missions. And also we know that there's some company listed in the Hong Kong stock market that are starting to pursue, say, launching satellites for Hong Kong. And so that's definitely another thriving business here.
Right. Many thanks, Lawrence, for enlightening us on this previously unexplored frontier of space. We hope that the seeds planted will enable Hong Kong to contribute further towards our nation's achievements. Have a pleasant evening and good night.